This is a presentation of Welcome Molalla, where we bring you fun and informative videos from within our community. In today's episode, Molalla welcomes Cindy Cox from the Waterfall Counseling at Foothills Community Church with an introduction by Doctors Daniel and Lindsay Floyd.
Hey again, everybody. This is Dr. Floyd from Floyd Family Orthodontics, and this again is my wife, Dr. Lindsay, and we're really excited to bring to you today the next installment of our video series talking about the 5 key elements of health. And again, those are physical health, nutritional health, mental/emotional health, spiritual health, and then community health, so having a good sense of community. So today we're going to have Cindy from Foothills Community Church, and she's going to talk to you today about emotional and mental health. And so I can't wait to hear what she has to say. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Cindy Cox. I am a licensed professional counselor intern. I am at Waterfall Counseling at Foothills Community Church, and today we're going to talk about mental health. It just so happens that May is Mental Health Month, and you might wonder, why is mental health important? Why should we be concerned about it? And the fact is that while only 1 in 5 Americans are impacted by mental health issues, everyone at some point in their life has an experience with a mental health challenge. Mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and their well-being, and mental illness, people think that they're like a life sentence, but they're common and they're treatable. So in our society, so many times we're taught to hide our feelings, to not show them, but for mental health it's really important to share your feelings in a way that acknowledges that you do have feelings, but not in a way that you take those feelings out on other people. Most people don't think about the emotions that they're dealing with. They don't take time to really identify. They might say, oh, I feel bad about, or I feel good about. But there are so many different words that give us more minute detail about the emotions that we're experiencing. Okay, so don't ignore how you're feeling. Ignoring our feelings and setting them aside gives them more strength. And then they tend to come out in ways that we're not expecting, in times when we're not expecting them to. There is a buildup, kind of like a volcano, and then that pressure is released. So if you can, find someone that you trust that you can talk to about the feelings that you're having so that you're not stuffing them down. And like I said, you want to build your emotional vocabulary. We use, as Americans, so few words to describe what we're feeling. And there's so many nuances to our emotions. And if we can become more in touch with those nuances, it gives us a better way of understanding that our emotions are on a continuum. They're not just all bad or all good. They're everything in between as well. So consider the strength of your emotions. If we can be more in touch with how strong our emotion is, we might be able to give it a different name and be more concise with it. Again, that continuum from I'm mad to I'm really irritated about this thing that got done, or that just made me feel uncomfortable and I didn't like it. So again, intentionality with sharing those emotions, being aware of the words that we're using, being aware of the intensity of the emotions that we're experiencing. If you're taking all these steps and you're still having a difficult time processing your emotions, it would be a good thing then to seek out a mental health person to help you with that processing and give you some tools to get better at how do we get through those difficult emotions. So school-age kids who are taught about emotions 20 to 30 minutes per week see improvements in their school performance and behavior. So it's also true that our connections with the people around us can help promote our mental health, connect with others who are like-minded. Some of the places where you can do that are places that you already go. Maybe you have interests in doing some things that are new to you, so you can seek out places where you can do those things. If you can't find something, then you can be proactive and perhaps start a group with other people who might be interested. Sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone and doing something new can be really challenging and kind of scary, and if schedules don't line up, we can feel like, oh, this isn't the right thing to do, or nobody wants to spend time with me. But if you stick with it and understand that sometimes scheduling just doesn't work out for it, you'll find that you will make these connections with people who do like to do the things that you like to do. We place our time with the things that are important to us. Studies show that Americans spend 2.5 hours a day sitting in front of the TV and only 30 minutes a day in social interaction with creating a relationship with people that matter to us. So we have to decide what's more important. Where do we spend our time? Do we spend our time with the people that are important to us, or do we spend our time with television? And neuroscience shows that we're created for relationship, and our mental, physical, emotional health is dependent on the quality of the relationships that we have in our life. A strong social support system, it improves our mental health, and it improves our ability to bounce back during stressful situations. When we are in isolation, we tend to go worst case scenario. We think the worst things, but if we can have support around us, our social support systems can help bring us out of that and help us understand that we're not alone. We're not the only one experiencing whatever that difficulty is. Nobody experiences it exactly as we do, but they can relate to what we're going through. So creating a routine is important. Routines help us be organized. They should include all of the things that we need to do: paying bills, doing laundry, cleaning house, cooking dinner, going grocery shopping, going to work, spending time with family, spending time with children, healthy diet. All of these things are routines that we want to have in our life. They help keep us healthy. If you don't have routines in your life, start slow. Don't try to change everything all at once. That's a recipe for failure. So pick one or two things that you can change. Do that, and when you're comfortable with that, add another thing that you want to change or add to your routine, and you'll get there. Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's really important when you're trying to do something new that you give yourself the grace that's needed, the time that's needed. One of the things to keep in mind is, for many people, it takes 66 days to develop a new habit. But that's not everybody. Some people can take as long as 8.5 months to create a new habit. So again, keep with it. Be patient with yourself. You will get there. Sometimes we go through things in life that are really painful. We go through losses of loved ones, losses of jobs, homes, communities. Even though these things are difficult, if we can find things in our life that we still have to be thankful for, it doesn't negate the loss, it doesn't take the loss away, but it helps give us perspective and helps us to remember that there's more to life, more to what we have than just the loss that we're experiencing. And this is another area where it's really important to have that trusted someone that you can talk to about what you're experiencing. I know in our society, like, we lose somebody and everybody comes around and we have that emotional support system until after the memorial. And then the people just kind of slip away and we're left alone. So if you know somebody who suffered a loss recently, and I mean any time in the last year or so, talk to them about what they're experiencing. They go through these waves of grief. It's not as acute as when the loss first occurred, but it's still there and it still comes over them, and they can feel like nobody else remembers or nobody else cares if nobody talks to them about it. One thing you can do to help cope with loss is to memorialize the loss, especially if it's a person. If they've died from a disease or an accident, you can create a fundraiser to support other people that are experiencing that. Maybe you do an art piece. Anything that you can do to commemorate that person or that special thing that you lost helps hold on to that memory and makes it special going forward. If you find that you've gone several weeks or several months and the pain, the loss that you've experienced it's still keeping you from experiencing life the way you feel like you should or want to, that might be a good time to contact your EAP from work, contact a mental health professional. There are steps that can be taken to help you move through that grief. Loss is one of those things that we don't get over. It's one of those things that we learn to live with. And loss is cumulative, so the more loss we experience, the heavier, the weightier it can feel. And sometimes if we experience a lot of loss at once, it's really helpful to have a professional, somebody who's experienced with dealing with grief and loss, to help us work through those feelings that we're stuck in. Another thing to keep in mind is that 60% of people have experienced a major loss in the last 3 years. So while each loss is different, you're not alone in having experienced loss. And there are groups that you can be part of where everybody is experiencing something similar, and it's a good place to process if you don't have that trusted person in your life that you can work through these things with. 2 out of 3 people who've experienced great loss have also experienced physical symptoms. So don't be surprised if you've had a significant loss in your life and you're experiencing illness, aches, pains, headaches, nausea, all these different things. Our bodies can manifest our emotions. So don't be surprised if that happens to you. It won't last. It will eventually recede. And now we've talked about a few things about mental health. Right now in May of 2020, we are living in an unprecedented time with COVID-19, and it's affecting a lot of people's mental and emotional health. But there are some things to keep in mind as we go through this time. We haven't experienced anything like this since the Spanish flu of 1918, and that flu was highly deadly. I believe it killed a third of the population at that time, and it went from early spring of 1918 through late spring to early summer of 1919. So these virus pandemics have quite a life, and as much as our lives have been changed over the last few months, this is not something that is going to go away overnight. It's going to take time to get through. And so how do we do that in a way that maintains our physical, emotional, and spiritual health? So the deadliness of the coronavirus has resulted in business closures, social isolation, supply chain disruptions. We can't go to church. We can't go to our organized sports. We're stuck in our homes. We may be homeschooling children. We may be trying to work from home. And we may be trying to do all of these things at one time. So our routines that we had developed prior to this have really been turned on their ear. And that can be very disrupting for a lot of people. So there might be a lot of things that you're concerned about. You might be concerned about getting sick. You might be concerned about transmitting the disease to somebody who is in a high-risk category that you care about. You might be worrying about taking care of and supporting your family. Are you going to keep your house? What's your job like? Do you have enough income? Can you put food on the table? Not being able to really connect with family and friends during this time just amps up the stress. And so it's important to recognize that we have a lot of things to be concerned about, and it makes sense to be concerned about these things. One of the greatest frustrations is the loss of control. There's so many things about this virus that is not within our control. We can't control the supply chain. We can't control when we can go back to work. We can't control whether or not our business is going to survive. But there are many things that you can control. You can control your body. You can control what you eat. You can control whether or not you exercise. You can control if you get enough sleep, and many other things. So you can care for your physical being in an intentional way during this time. You can control your immediate environment. Now is a time when a lot of people are doing projects around the house. They're doing spring cleaning, they're painting, they're reorganizing. So there are things that you can do in your immediate physical environment that you do have control over that maybe you wouldn't have had time to do if this pandemic wasn't occurring currently. You can control what you consume. You don't want to overconsume news. Overconsuming bad news creates a higher level of anxiety. We need to know what's going on, so we do need to watch the news. We need to know what changes are being made because changes are happening daily. So we do need to do that, but we don't need a steady diet. We don't need to have it on 24/7. So you want to get your information from reliable sources, and you want to limit how much you intake. It's a good idea to find media that makes you feel good, whether it's TV shows or movies. Things that help improve your mood are very helpful. You have control over how you protect yourself and how you instruct your family to protect themselves. Hand washing for 20 seconds with soap and water, wearing a mask when you're out in public, avoiding touching your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth with your hands without having first washed them. There's so many things that we've been learning about how the virus is transmitted, and we have control over when we put ourselves in that environment, how do we protect ourselves and the people that we love. It's normal to experience anxiety in times of crisis or stress, but people who already have anxiety have just that increased higher level of anxiety when things like this happen. And so what do we watch for? Some of the things to be aware of are uncontrolled worry or dread, stomach or digestive problems, and trouble with clarity of thought. We can get so overwhelmed with our anxiety that we find we don't think clearly. We can experience problems with sleep, either falling asleep or staying asleep. We can experience difficulties with irritability or restlessness, and we can also experience increased heart rate. And these are all indicative of our anxiety level going up. So there are small things that we can do while we're social distancing and in quarantine that can reduce our levels of anxiety. You can ask someone to be your support buddy. You can call, you can text, you could FaceTime, you could find another video media. There's Zoom, there's Skype, there's many different digital media where you can actually have these face-to-face conversations, even though you can't be in person face-to-face. And no, I know they're not quite the same, but they're a good substitute. A good way to improve your overall health is to exercise. And you can exercise at home. You can go for walks outside as long as you're social distancing. The fresh air, sunshine, excellent for overall health. You can use resources. There's online support there's actually a call-in line if you're struggling with issues of COVID-19. And you can there's a text line that you can use too. You can text MHA to 741-741 and be in touch with a crisis counselor via texting. And it's really good to set boundaries with your phone, so social media and all those things. Remember that the people that you're with, that face-to-face is more important than the electronic communication. Sometimes when you're isolating, that electronic communication is our lifeline to somebody else. Maybe we're socially isolating at home all by ourselves. That's important to use that phone to connect with other people. But if you're at home with your family, don't forget to connect with those people that are there with you in your home. One of the things you can do when you're overly stressed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling like you're having an anxiety attack, you can do what we in counseling call belly breathing. And so you want to take a deep breath, you want to feel your stomach rise, so you're going to go as far in as you can take and then blow it all out. And do that up to 10 times. And when you do that, notice that your shoulders drop and notice the relaxation during that breath that you're experiencing. And these things help reduce that anxiety level. When we're in anxiety, we're in our fight, flight, or freeze mode, and that breathing helps take us out of that mode and helps our higher level thinking, our reasoning to come back online and help us to realize that yes, things are stressful, yes, things are hard, but we are safe. And that's really important. Now, if anxiety won't let up, if you find that you're doing everything that's been recommended for you to do and you're still having a really difficult time, there are additional resources that you can do. You can do a screening at mhanational.org. It's free, it's confidential. They will give you your results. They will put you in touch with helpful aids to whether that means practices that you can do, tools that you can develop on your own, or a recommendation to find a mental health provider in your area. You can contact a local mental health provider. You can Google Mental Health Molalla. There aren't very many in Molalla, but there are a couple, and there are some in our surrounding area, Canby, Oregon City, Silverton. There are crisis lines and text lines. And I am going to read that off to you because I can't memorize the number. There's a crisis counselor for COVID-19 pandemic that are available 24/7, 365. That number is 1-800-985-5990, or you can text Talk With Us to 66746. And if you're in crisis and thinking about suicide, get connected to your local crisis center, and you can get in touch with somebody immediately. You can call 1-800-273-8255. That's TALK. And alternatively, again, you can text MHA to 741-741. Taking care of ourselves, all of our mental and emotional needs can feel overwhelming at times, but get connected with other people in your community. There are people out there who care. There are resources available to you. And I hope you have a great day.
So we wanted to thank our guest today for introducing one of the 5 key elements of health. We hope this is helping everyone in a difficult time, and we can't wait to see you again around in the community or at our office. So everybody stay safe and see you soon.
Thank you for spending time with Welcome Molalla. We hope you enjoyed this episode and that you will come back for more and share with your friends.